The transformation of philosophy into something emotionally appealing and aesthetically pleasing may seem at first like an effort to make it more accessible. Yet this shift carries a subtle cost. When philosophy is romanticized, wrapped in humor, charm, and emotional resonance, it risks losing its primary function as a discipline that strengthens the mind. In this sense, the popular discourses of Osho can be critically examined as an example of how the move from rigor to romanticism may weaken the philosophical temperament rather than cultivate it. Philosophy, in its classical sense, is not meant to comfort or entertain. It is meant to challenge and discipline the intellect. Figures like Socrates did not try to amuse their audiences. They unsettled them, forcing them into doubt and self-examination. Similarly, Immanuel Kant developed complex systems of thought that demanded patience and sustained reasoning. In such traditions, the mind becomes strong precisely because it must struggle, tolerate ambiguity, and remain accountable to logic and ethical consistency. When philosophy is romanticized, a different psychological dynamic appears. Ideas presented through humor, storytelling, and emotional engagement become easier to receive but harder to internalize with discipline. The listener is drawn not by the force of argument, but by the pleasure of the experience. Instead of being exercised, the mind is soothed. Over time, philosophy becomes associated with enjoyment rather than effort, and inspiration replaces obligation. The discourses of Osho illustrate this shift. His use of jokes, paradoxes, and captivating narratives created an atmosphere in which philosophy felt like a lively performance rather than a demanding inquiry. While this made his ideas widely appealing, it also changed the role of the listener. Rather than actively questioning and analyzing, the audience could simply receive insights delivered with charisma. The intellectual tension that normally accompanies philosophical thinking was softened into a sense of effortless understanding. This has consequences for the strength of the mind. A mind grows strong by working through ideas, testing them, resisting them, and integrating them into a coherent framework of thought and action. When ideas are consumed in a state of relaxed enjoyment, this process weakens. The individual may feel enlightened without undergoing the internal restructuring that genuine philosophical growth requires. The result is often a sense of understanding without the discipline that sustains it. Emotionally charged philosophy can also bypass rational scrutiny. When an idea feels liberating or profound, it may be accepted without careful examination. The individual begins to value the feeling associated with the idea rather than the truth of the idea itself. Philosophy then becomes less a method for examining reality and more a source of psychological stimulation. This also weakens ethical integration. Classical philosophers such as Aristotle insisted that wisdom must be lived through disciplined practice. Romanticized philosophy, however, can create moments of insight that feel transformative, but fade quickly in everyday life. Without the demand for rational accountability and consistent action, philosophical understanding remains shallow. It is unlikely that Osho intended this outcome. His aim seems to have been to liberate people from rigid thinking and make philosophical ideas accessible. Yet by removing much of philosophy's intellectual resistance, its demand for effort and accountability, he unintentionally created a form of engagement that was easier to enjoy but less capable of producing depth. The result is a paradox. Philosophy becomes more attractive, yet less transformative. It spreads widely, yet penetrates only lightly. In romanticizing philosophy, it risks becoming an experience rather than a discipline, leaving the mind feeling awakened without having undergone the difficult work that genuine philosophical strength requires.